some people they'll email me over and over again. What's this about? What are you doing next? I've seen this in your work. Did you realise that you had done this? Did you do this on purpose? Honest to God,
Yeah, really. But do they see things in it you hadn't seen?
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
And there's one woman in America, she'd created a whole webpage about me, about stuff I didn't even know about myself. Seriously,
What do you mean?
She'd followed all the stuff I'd ever done, all my projects. She'd put it on a page. I was mesmerised. It was like reading about a different character, a different person. It wasn't me. I tried to sell my social identity. This was an experiment because I'd read about a woman who was so paranoid about having her identity stolen that she stopped putting her black bin bags out. I twisted it on its head and I thought, wouldn't it be great if I purposely went out and tried to sell my social identity? What would happen? So I created a little poster saying, I want to sell my social identity to pay for my father's hip operation. I only put the father's hip operation as an emotional link. And I gave a list of things I was selling: driver's license, passport, lottery ticket.
Lottery ticket.
And within,
a winning lottery ticket.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. and the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know, as if they're... why shouldn't they come in,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it sounds ludicrous. People say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll never happen. Why?
Well, crazy.
Same odds.
We'll talk about that later.
So anyway, I put this poster up in a shop window. The next day, I got contacted by the local paper.
No.
I did an interview with them.
How did they find out about it?
Because they saw it in the shop window, somebody saw it and told them about it. It works like that.
Yes.
Anyway, the day after that, it got published in the local paper. It was big headlines, police involved.
Yes.
The day after that, it was released in the Metro paper that's freebie.
Did the police come and speak to you?
I'll get to you at this point. Very interesting. But it went well wide from China. People in China were bidding for my identity. They were emailing me. And it was incredible. A weird thing is, 6 months down the line, the Oxford Mail decided to ask me how I'd got on. And we did another interview, another story. And I asked the reporter, I said, why didn't the police ever get in touch with me then? Because you made such a fuss of it in your first article. And she said, they didn't have a clue what to do with you because nobody had ever tried to sell their social identity before.
And this just comes from one woman's comments.
About being paranoid about her identity being stolen.
And then applying a creative equation.
Yeah.
How can I
twisting it.
Playing it around in your head, making it bigger, inverting it, and then thinking, that's not been done before.
Yeah.
How can I do that?
Yeah.
And then doing it.
Yeah. It all comes down to doing it.
Yes. And even if it's rubbish,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter because you're doing another one the next day.
I'll do something else. But with me, it has to be done. Sometimes it drives me mad because there are instances where I just want to get on my life. I want to go to the shop and buy my beans, buy a tin of beer, but halfway there, an idea comes into my head and it's like, oh my God, I'm going to have to do that because it's exciting me. And I realise that I've got another few months of doing something else on top of all the other stuff I've got to do. So these ideas sort of come from this, wherever they come from, I just think, did I need that new idea in my head? Did I need that? Because whoever's sending me these ideas, jokingly, why now? I'm busy as it is. Don't put any more ideas into my head. Because I have to do them, ultimately. Cyril Parkinson spent some time in the civil service. And he realised how much wastage there was. Too many people working there doing some ridiculous tasks. And so something came out of his research called Parkinson's Law, and what he stated was, the less time you have, the more productive you are. And he gave an example, and he said, if you give a person 1 hour to write a letter, they would fill that time. They would write that letter in 1 hour. If you gave that person 10 minutes to write the same letter, it would take them 10 minutes. And all they're doing is they make it more concise, compressed. And that's all I do. I have a set number of hours I can create in. So all my projects have got to be...
You give yourself a deadline.
I have to, otherwise
I
wouldn't do it.
What about the perfectionism? Do you not have...
No, I do. Within the project, right, it's a very compressed version of what I would probably do if I had 50 hours spare rather than 5 hours. It's all about compressing it. And the discipline is there all the time. I cannot stand not having the discipline, but it's all about making something, streamlining it, compressing it. As long as I get it out there, it doesn't matter, because I don't know, you read about bands like U2 spend 2 years making an album. Oh my God, that's not creativity. Yeah. That's death.
Yes, and then they release it and you don't want to listen to it.
I don't want to listen to it. No. If U2 released an album that took 2 weeks to make, I'd love it. I'd buy it.
Yes.
More spontaneous. It's about spontaneity. As close as you can get to being spontaneous is the mark for creativity for me, because you're going to be more truthful to your idea.
Do you think that if there was somebody that feels like their life isn't very creative, that they should go back and look at maybe as a child what used to excite them and see if they can play with that again? What do you think?
Yeah, totally. People don't change. When I was at school, I got interested in magic tricks, and I would perform them in front of my friends. At the end of the trick, there was a look of amazement, and for one moment, I had pricked their bubble. I had taken out their everyday realm.
Yes.
I could see that their heads and their minds were full of questions and curiosities. And how did you do that? Is that real magic? This is very powerful. I've made them think differently for a second. And it was an instant response. I used to work as a postman 20 odd years ago. I met lots of creative people in there who wanted to have their work displayed, wanted to make a success as being an artist. And I remember those creative people, and one day, for some peculiar reason, I don't know how it started, where I got the idea of shoving blank canvases, physically posting them in the post. I mean, some of them were huge.
Really?
And
I don't think I've seen the huge ones.
They're massive. And I don't know where I got the idea from. I can't remember its genesis. But all I remember thinking was, when the idea came to me, let's give the people inside the postal system the opportunity of displaying their creativity, because I knew there'd still be lots of people working there now artists. And I thought, right, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. Let's shove these things in the post. Let's see what happens when they come back to me, if they've drawn on them. And I had instructions to the post, women and men, to draw on them, to stamp on them, to engage with them, to make a mark on them. Oh my God. Some of the drawings that people have made were fantastic.
When you have all of these ideas, you only have a certain amount of time during the day. Do you sometimes find yourself you don't know what to do next? In which case, most people would either go to the pub or watch TV, or somehow, after a day's work, and you're tired, and you've got a family, and you start doing more work, and you're disciplined enough to know and prioritise which particular project to work on at the moment. Because I know about you do execute, you do finish this stuff. Some of it involves travel, some of it involves printing and finishing and making great big objects. It's execution, isn't it? It's really hard.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing in the world to think of something and then not follow it through. And that's just not me. I'm not that person. I will get an idea, and if the idea thrills me as soon as it enters my brain, I have to see it through. For my own curiosity, because I'm a very curious person, I get an idea in my head, and I love something that's in my head 1 minute, and the next minute it's out there in reality, and I just love that. I just love that happening. And that idea could have easily kind of faded away and not happened. But ideas come all the time.
Do you write them down?
I always carry a notebook. I carry a physical notebook. And why I carry a physical notebook is because I have a smartphone, but I don't use it as a notebook, because a physical notebook, when I get an idea in my head, I want it immediately down on my paper. And the quickest way is going through my head, hand, pen, paper. If I sleep, it has to be near me in case I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm not a very good sleeper. It's probably one reason why I've been so creative, because I don't sleep very well. And when I wake up in the middle of the night, I start thinking of ideas. Eventually I get tired and go back to bed. But I've done something creative within that time, or positive or constructive, rather than just watching a television programme. But the ideas come from anywhere. If something somebody says to another person, it could be something that a person's holding, it could be a book, it could be a newspaper. I'm always looking for triggers. I read online, it was an article, and it was saying, should street art be taken into galleries? Should it be accepted as proper art? And as I was making a cup of tea, I did a switch. I thought, hold on. Wouldn't it be great if galleries went out to the street?
Yeah.
So I thought, there's a way of doing that.
Yeah.
So I've decided to make my own mini gallery series. So I'm creating these mini galleries with objects in. I'm going to place them in the public realm for people to spot. And within these mini galleries, there are objects that relate to political events, current themes, and they can also be humorous objects. So that's one idea that came from me just reading something online and just twisting it. I work for a company whose core business is large format printing. It could be anything from producing artworks for hoardings, huge hoardings in the street, supermarket shop window graphics, or banners that hang from museums, very long 30-metre banners. It's all large format stuff. And my job is, I spend most of my time, about probably about 80% of it, working at a computer, so setting up the artworks.
Which is the one thing years ago you said
I didn't
never wanted to do.
No. Don't even go there. I don't know how I fell into
I think
this.
you used to spend 5 minutes in front of a computer and you would run away.
I hated computers with a passion because I found it was a chore. It was trying to learn something, and I'm such a rush. I'm in such a rush of wanting to create something that I have to learn this to do it. It gets in the way. Sorry. No. Anyway, but I spend about 80% of my time in front of a computer artworking these files to be printed. So right from concept to completion. So I'll meet the client, I'll listen to what they want, and then I'll have my input, and I'll create something. They'll sign that creation off, and then it gets printed, and I'm there to fit it.
Wow.
I've even fitted the hoardings.
How
and
amazing.
That is so satisfying.
Yes,
Concept to completion, brilliant.
Now, a lot of people that start things on the side, on top of their day job, are often doing it kind of to bring in extra revenue. So they're doing something that they're passionate about, but they're trying to see if they can actually make money from it.
Of course.
But yours is art, isn't it? And it's not money based. The satisfaction is in the doing of it, in the creation. Is that the case?
You're absolutely spot on, and it does annoy my wife. Well, it has in the past, because she said, "Why don't you attempt to make money? You're not commercial enough." And I get her point of view. And I've tried the commercial route. I had a book officially published by Summersdale, one of the biggest independents.
That was a Muse Agents.
My book. And it was one of the first commercial projects that I created. I set out purposely to try and make it into a commercial success, because my wife had mentioned the fact that you don't make money out of it, or very little. I haven't made money out of selling paintings and photographs, but not as a living. So I set out to create this book and make it into a commercial quest, and it did. I was very lucky. I created this book full of fictitious shop window adverts, and I sent it off to 2 publishers. I had intentions of sending it to 50 because I kind of believed in it. But the second publisher loved it, published it. So I had some commercial success. It went to #1 on the Amazon Shakers and Movers, because
I remember.
the National Daily Mail dedicated a whole page to it, which sent it flying, and in the charts, if you want to use that expression to measure success.
So that wasn't self-published, that book?
No. That first one was
just went the traditional route.
Traditional route of having a publisher, going for a commercial hit or a success, trying to make some money, and it did. It was successful. I sold a few thousand, but unfortunately, books are not an ideal way of trying to make money, because you get such a low return. It's something like 30 pence a book. You've got to shift thousands and thousands
And
to
you've got
make
to
it
do
work.
talks as well, don't you? You've got to follow it up with.
I mean, one of the things when I met my publishers was, can you do interviews? Do you like doing interviews? Are you ready for this? I loved the whole thing. It was fantastic. But I spent a lot of time creating that project, going around the country putting these adverts up, creating the damn adverts. For what? The return I got, if you worked it out per hour, it's nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is this pressure, and rightly so, because I've got a full-time job, pays the bills. It'd be nice to have more money from the things I do, because I spend a lot of time making my art, my projects. But saying that, it did pay off, because I got this commission with the whole City of Culture.
Mm-hmm. Was that a paid commission?
Oh yeah, they paid me. They paid me some few £1,000s.
Oh, that's
it
nice.
paid off. It's led to me meeting lots of new people. It completely changed the way I am in terms of thinking commercially. I feel incredibly confident I can go on and do something much bigger. For me, my weakness is the commercial side. Making money has always been a problem for me. Some people it might be the other way around, I don't really care. For me, it's something I've got to conquer. I've got to be more commercially orientated, confident enough to demand a price for what I produce. I'm not good at this. I'm good at the publicity side. So if somehow I could marry those two together, I probably could make more of a success in terms of making money.
You know, you're getting now the whole City of Culture visibility. How is that? I mean, how did you get involved with that?
The person who was the creative director of the opening show of the City of Culture was Sean McAllister. Now, Sean last year had an incredible success with a film called A Syrian Love Story. It put him on the map, basically, in terms of documentary filmmaking. And I got a phone call one day from Sean, who I used to go to school with. He said, we've got an empty shop in Hull for you. We'd like you to create an installation. Sell it to us. What are you going to do with this empty shop?
What, immediately?
There and then.
On the spot?
Yeah, and on the spot.
And what did you say?
I said, Sean, this is great. I love it. This is what I'm going to do. And I had to pitch this there and then. I said, yes, I'll fill the shop full of adverts, all related to Hull, but they'll be fictitious, they'll be humorous. And also we can have objects in the shop that appear in the advert. So it gives it that a second tier of interest. And he goes, right, okay, you've got it. You've got the gig. Come on. And I went, great, okay.
Now you just have to do it.
I have to do it. And Sean gave me the deadline. He goes, you've got 3 months to do it. And I went, 3 months, okay, fair enough.
That was like having to fill an art gallery, though, wasn't it?
It was
Each of those pieces was its own artwork, wasn't it?
Oh my word. It took 3 months of solid work, working till 12 o'clock every night after I put my daughter to bed. 3 months solid.
The Yellow Day event, I remember when we were at art school and we would walk down the street looking for yellow things. Remember? Do you remember that? We would choose a colour and we would just say, we'll just look for this colour. I mean, you thought of it as far as I know, but I still do it now with my kids. I say to them, okay, walking on the street.
I do. Single out colour.
Yeah. Find all the kind of blue things. Yeah. And it's surprising. And your whole Yellow Day, I was just wondering if that was connected to that, to try to make people, because otherwise I don't see the point of it. If the point isn't that, guys, you are walking around in a magical universe full of all sorts of amazing things, if you'd only open your eyes. For example, why don't you look around and just see how many yellow things you can see right now? And you'd be amazed what you notice. And why don't you look around and see how many ovals you can see? You know, and you'd be amazed what you noticed.
It's all of that.
Yeah.
It's all of that.
Is it? Is that?
It's that, as we were talking earlier on about influences, where they come from, and quite often you're not aware of directly where they're coming from. The Yellow Day event, which we'll talk about in a minute, taps into that, because I spent quite a number of years doing that, singling out colours, because there's so much clutter. When you walk outside, what do you look at?
Yeah.
And I started singling out colours, Because if you pick one colour, you see objects you never would have seen, because that Gestalt experience where you just broadly look, you don't really see anything of any worth, any detail. But if you single out a colour, you'll see things, objects that you would normally miss. I wanted to create something really simple that would involve people in Hull en masse. Why not create a yellow day? Let's have that colour yellow as a link, as a theme, as a bridge to connect people. So I thought, let's invite everybody in Hull as individuals to participate in a collective experience. And yellow is just going to be a link, it's going to be a theme. So that's my next event. It's called Yellow Day Hull. What I'm inviting people to do is to, on the 24th of June, is to either wear, carry, or create something yellow that celebrates your love of Hull and its city. And that all came because of that one night when I was outside my installation, about seeing thousands of people spectating. And I just thought, the power they have as participators. And if I could tap that potential, it would be wonderful. So I made an announcement on the Yellow Day Hull Facebook group page, and I said, I want to put a billboard up in Hull, a big advertisement for Yellow Day. I said, does anybody want to sponsor it? In return, I put your image on that billboard. Yes. And within a matter of hours, 56 people had pledged £13.70 to pay for the billboard. And what's great about it is that people have been saying, I've never appeared on a billboard. And I said to them, well, this is the year. You can do something different. Yes. You have a license to thrill, to entertain, to do something unusual. This is the year in Hull. This is a city of culture.
A lot of the stuff that you do seems like it's comedy. And yet, one of your quotes on Facebook was, thought is dangerous. Don't believe everything you think. It's almost a surrealist thing, where you're putting objects in places people don't expect them, and people think, why is that? But the reason is because nobody knows what is true or fake anymore.
Right.
And they need to question their reality. Is that right?
You've absolutely nailed it. For many years, what I've been doing with my projects, there's been an interplay of fact and fiction, weaving fantasy into a truth, because it can make it more memorable, more interesting, and something else can come out of it. I bought one object. It was a plaster cast hand. All I'd done with this hand was I painted it red, and I left it in the middle of this Oxford town centre. It looked like one of those police crime scenes where you have the yellow tape, but mine said on the yellow tape, it said scene of an art incident. And next to it there was some text, and it said, this is a plaster cast hand of Jack the Ripper. Now, as I was photographing that, a man came up to me, stood right beside me and said, where on earth did you find a plaster cast of Jack the Ripper's hand? And all I said was, you wouldn't believe the length I went to find it. And he said to me there and then, he said, I cannot wait to tell the wife about this moment, seeing Jack the Ripper's hand. And he cycled off. And for me, that was great, because I'd inspired him to go off and have a conversation with his wife at the dinner table. And I'd love to have been a fly on the wallpaper and listen to that conversation, how it unfurled. I left an oven glove once in Hull train station, taped it off with the scene of an art incident, and I put the written text next to the oven glove was, this oven glove is what President Putin uses every night to stop himself from scratching his genitalia. I heard people standing around me saying, that's amazing, I never knew that. And other people are saying, I love this is really funny. So there's a whole medley of responses.
Preston, thank you so much for speaking to me today. People on the outside see you as some kind of superhero artist who comes in to subvert reality and show them things that are inside out and back to front. And I just know you as an old friend who's incredibly inspiring. Thank you so much for speaking to me today.
It's been wonderful. Really enjoyed it. And I've learned so much about you.